Welcome to the second episode of Off on One, navigating ADHD and mental health in music with myself, Promo Zoe, and Billy Daniel Bunter. And today we have an incredible guest with a fascinating story, Emma Marshall, who brings with her methodology of music is medicine. Welcome, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. So happy to have you here. Your story's incredible. We'll get into that.
It is fascinating. I have been glued to you on the internet, your TED Talks, your podcast, what you say on your social media. The whole thing about the importance of dancing and rhythm, it is fascinating. And I really identify with it as a DJ because obviously being out DJing every week on the rave scene for 35 years and seeing people so together, what you talk about and what you've studied and how you educate the world is fascinating.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's give everyone a backstory about your methodology, what it's all about.
Yeah, so we'll start at the beginning. So I worked in music after, I was a raver, basically. I was like, how do I do this as a job?
Yeah.
And I found myself working in, started off in kind of events, artist liaison, doing that. And then I worked in a booking agency, did some tour management, did guest list at Fabric.
Yeah, we've got similar backstories.
And then went to a massive booking agency and then went into consultancy, went into management, went into labels. Like I've kind of done loads of different areas of the industry, but it was always electronic music.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I got seriously ill, but they didn't know what was wrong with me. So it was just like kind of going back and forth with the NHS. I've been getting symptoms way before 2018, but in 2018 was when it got really severe. So, by the end of 2018, I was just like, I feel like I'm going to drop dead. And then I went into functional medicine, and they were like, we think you've got Lyme disease. And also at that point in time, they were also looking at environmental toxins, so looking at black mold in the house. Right. So I was like, right, well, what are we going to do then? Yeah. And they were like, well, this is what we can do. And it was all very experimental. So I ended up having to raise money for treatment, which was in Mexico. Wow. So I went over to Mexico, had all these tests done, and they were like, oh, we don't think you do have Lyme, or if you do, it's like, it's not active and blah, blah, blah. And we just, the mold thing, like that might be a thing, but we're just not really sure. We're going to treat you anyway. And so I had all these experimental treatments and like they left me unable to walk and like was having these like weird seizures and like, treatment in any form. I think that people don't realize is that usually you're going to get sicker before you get better anyway. 100%. So I was aware of that. But when I wasn't able to walk, I was like, no, this is crazy. So ended up leaving the hospital after, I think it was like 4 weeks in there. And they were just sort of like, well, if you want more treatment, to find us, but we spent like 30 grand. Yeah. And it's like, that's it. Much. Like, that's all the money. Yeah. I have nothing to my name sort of thing. So it was just like, right.
And no resolve at that point.
No resolve, no answers. They just kind of gave you this like protocol. Yeah. And it was like, no, you need to continue doing this, this and this. And I was just lost really. And so I ended up staying in Mexico. And I think I was just also just like so traumatized. I was just like, I can't go back to the UK because they can't help me. Yeah. I'm going to just stay here and just try and figure it out. And so I went into the jungle and started doing all the plant medicine stuff.
Amazing.
So I met all the shamans from different countries like Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and just did different medicines from ayahuasca through to bufo, through to cambo, through to DMT, mushrooms, and just was like, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? I was so ill and in such a bad kind of state that it was just like, you just crack on and you just do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So did that kind of thing. And then, but what I noticed, and it didn't kind of come up like about immediately necessarily, but what I noticed over time was that in all of these sessions that I was doing, all these ceremonies that I was doing, there was some sort of music or drumming. And then it was always rhythmic. It was always to do with the rhythm. Okay. Always. And I was just like, okay, this is interesting. Yeah. So that was, I think, the seed that got planted. And then I came back to the UK after 6 months. And then I lived with my mum and dad in their like spare room, was on universal credit and was just like, lost, basically. Just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Still not well. My body wasn't recovering. And then I met this woman and she was like, you're traumatized. That's why you're not recovering.
Okay.
So the treatment's not going to work whilst you're in this traumatized state because your body is in a constant stress response, basically.
Like fight or flight. Yeah.
It's like, it gets to the point, I'll explain it properly, I'm sure later, but like it just gets to the point basically where you burn out so much of your fight or flight energy, there's nothing left, so you go into freeze.
Yes.
So freeze is where you're just completely shut down. And it can look like depression, for example, but it can also literally look like you are playing dead. Like you have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
So it's like severe burnout, basically. And when you look at a traumatized person, that's exactly how they present.
Yeah.
So I was like really in this kind of zone. And when I met her and she kind of logically made sense to me, I was like, all right, cool. So then I stopped all the treatment that I was given because I was still on these like protocols, and I just stopped everything. And then that's when I started to play music again.
Okay.
Because I stopped listening to music.
How did that come about? It just happened that you stopped listening to anything?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
It just...
You were too focused on the illness or recovery that you didn't even think about joy, essentially.
Exactly that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was my life. Like all I did from the minute I was like aware of SoundCloud was like search for tunes and like, you know, was on Twitter going to DJs like, what's this tune that you played on this set?
Yeah,
and, you know, that was my whole thing.
Okay.
But I just disconnected from it so much. And then it was so now timeline wise, we're in 2020 because I was in treatment for the whole of 2019. We're in 2020 and then COVID hits. So where I should have had like physio and definitely some therapy and like other things, there was nothing available. So then that's when I started to put the tunes on and then also dance.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like people as well. I think that when you go into a health journey, they're always like, oh, do yoga and like do and I was just like, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Like I'll stretch and do whatever, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And then I just found that moving to music in my kitchen was my thing and I could do it every day.
Yeah.
It was like a minor and it was like, felt very natural.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, so I did start to see improvements in both my physical health, like for example, my pain and like how tired I was, it was starting to lift a bit.
Okay.
And then versus when I didn't do it, it was like, I can't get out of bed kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then also obviously the emotional kind of traumatic side of things, it was like helping me to process a lot of emotion as well.
Okay. So would you find yourself feeling emotional, dancing, getting upset, anything like that?
100%. Yeah. I've been diagnosed with clinical PTSD. It wasn't just like a thing that I'd given myself. So it was like I had a clinical PTSD diagnosis from all of this stuff. And I was having severe flashbacks. I was having like really bad nightmares. I would even faint because it would all get so overwhelming. Yeah. And so there was a lot of emotion. It's really hard sometimes to even know what it is when there's so much stuff that's happened. Yeah. So I just when I danced, I didn't feel overwhelmed. Okay. I didn't feel the symptoms of the PTSD.
Okay.
As intensely maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was obviously as well, there's no quick fix. This is like a continuation over even months. Yeah. But the more that I did it, the more it worked basically. Okay. And then that's when I was like, there's something in this.
Okay.
Emma, did you have go-to tunes?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, well, the first tune that I actually put on was Maya Jane Cole's What They Say.
Right.
Which is like, it's so funny now when I hear it because I have this association with it that's completely different. But when I was younger, I used to love going to house raves. And so that tune at one point, especially like 2012, was played everywhere.
Right.
And it just... like there is a resonance there. There's a nostalgia there of like you going back into those times where you also feel happy. And that was a really big thing for me. It was like, play music that makes you feel happy. So Maya Jane Cole's was that was my first port of call. And then after that, it was a lot of stuff, by like Hot Creations, kind of the Jamie Jones world, because I was working with them all at the time. And like that's, again, just that sound and that time of my life was really fun. Yeah, and I had a really good time.
It's really interesting because there's like millions and millions of tracks out there, but all of us can find that handful of tunes at any moment in our life that just uplift us. And I've got like a handful that have been in my life forever. And like you can go to those tracks and they can lift you, whether you're not in a good mood, whether you're down. whether you're looking for inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's what made me ask that question, because I think it's deeper than just finding some music. It's finding the right music.
The right music.
Yeah, it needs to resonate with you, like with your soul.
Absolutely. Well, I started off in house, right? And then when I started to feel it working, then I went to drum and bass. Because drum and bass was my first love. Yeah. That was my thing.
That's what we love to hear.
Yeah, that was where I started. It was like drum and bass, jungle, garage and grime raves. House came later for me. Yeah. So when I wasn't listening to drum and bass tracks, I was finding sets that I loved and I hadn't listened to in a while.
Okay.
And so even sets that I've been at. All right. And so that's when it started again to just like come back.
Can you give the nerdy me some examples of those sets?
Any Andy C set from like 2009.
Okay.
Like that kind of
great era. Yeah.
And then like Calabar, DJ Marky, Spy, like
100%
that
Spy.
kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then I would also be very heavy on the like metalheads side of things as well. Doc Scott, Goldie, like
very breaksy, deep.
Very breaksy. Any basically all of that, and then Shy FX, because Shy FX.
Brilliant. I see you share Alias Follow Me as well on your page a lot.
Yeah, that's a big tune.
Yeah, I still play that. I play it at the weekend, and there's just something about seeing my age group, people who were there the first time, and just the sentiment of that record and getting everyone, like always, get everyone to put their hands in the air and hold the person's hand next to them. There's something quite sentimental in me about that record.
Well, it's kind of very gospel.
Yeah,
like,
very gospel.
It's very gospel record, and so like the purpose of gospel music in essence is connection. Yeah. That's what it is. It's connection to God or a higher power. And the bottom line is that if you're doing that in a rave with all these people around you, you're connecting to yourself, you're connecting to everyone else, and you are connecting to something bigger than you. And that's why it's so special.
Do you know what's interesting about what you're saying there? In my top 5 inspiring records is Phase 2 Reaching, CC Rogers Someday. Those records were originally gospel records sung by gospel singers from New Jersey, New York, etc. And I've always gone back to those records, even though they were big in the rave scene in the late 80s, early 90s, with people taking E's and Light together. They always take that away. Those gospel records on top of those pounding house beats have such an emotional, spiritual feeling to them.
Absolutely.
And there's such a church-like feeling to the inspiration in that music.
Yeah, totally. And that's why it's so special as a genre.
Yeah.
Because it evokes the same emotion as you've just mentioned as you would get in a church service.
Yeah.
But you're on a dance floor.
Yeah.
And this is the interest for me in all of this, is like there are different types of experiences that we have, and it's always the center of it is connection. So that's what I think that people are looking for is, you know, if you follow a faith, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for connection to something that's going to be a guide, right? The music in Raving is the guide.
100%.
That's the thing. That's the thing that gives you the connection, and then you can look outside of yourself. Whatever's going on in your life on the dance floor, it just doesn't matter. Like you get to process, you get to go through this catharsis and this like experience with other people that you will never have anywhere else. And like that's why it's so special. And there was this guy, I read his book like when back to like the kind of origins of all of this, when I was doing the research, there wasn't loads of it, and it definitely wasn't accessible to layman people. I'm not you know, I haven't got a degree in neuroscience or any of these kind of topics that I talk about. I've got a degree in English that was just from way back then.
It's very helpful to have.
Yeah, why not? I can read a book. Like it. But yeah, the topics that I ended up obviously finding myself engaged in, I was like, I'm just making it up as I go along. Essentially, I'm just like finding this research paper, reading this book, and then pinning the pieces together for what's made sense in regards to my life experiences and everything that I've seen and felt. And there was a guy, his book changed my life.
Okay.
He was called Bradford Keeney. He is a psychotherapist. He's from America. And he wrote this book called Shaking Medicine. Now, in the first introduction, which is the first 5 pages, he's like, whether you experience what I'm going to talk about in this book at a rave, at a festival, in a church service, like even just in your living room, like all of it is valid. But basically what he did was he went and lived with this tribe in Botswana for 16 years and translated all of their knowledge into English. And he was obviously welcomed by the tribe, and it was like a whole like really big deal because they are the oldest tribe in the world. So they're called the San people.
Okay.
And the San people use trance dance.
Okay.
And that's their main kind of modality that they use for when somebody is having an issue in whether that's physical, mental, emotional, whatever.
Yeah.
They light the fire, they play the drums in a specific type of way, and they move to the music, and they go into a trance where they end up like shaking. And the shaking component's really interesting because that's what animals do in the wild when they are overcoming a stressful experience. So when you go into the predator-prey situation, you can see it even in dogs. If you've got a dog and your dog is stressed out about something, it will literally just start to shake it off. It's what we're kind of designed to do.
Right.
But humans obviously aren't doing that. So we go into a stressful situation and then we're just like holding it
internally.
So where do we do it? At a rave. Because you're not also choreographed at a rave, are you?
Right.
So people obviously ask me this all the time in terms of choreography versus just dancing. And obviously another thing that I get is like, oh, well, I can't dance. So it's like, but you actually can. You actually can dance because if you can move to music, you're dancing. Yeah. We have this idea in our heads that choreography is the only way to dance, and it's not true.
That's conscious dancing, right?
Well, so
opposed to unconscious dancing.
Totally. Yeah. And the point of the ecstatic movement that he's describing in this book of the shaking is when you go into these like these zones where your conscious and your unconscious minds are completely bridged as one.
Right.
And that's basically also what happens in certain types of therapies.
Yes.
Hypnotherapy, EMDR, like all of these therapies now that have been really good for trauma. That's what happens on a dance floor. It's a movement meditation. So when your conscious and your unconscious mind are bridged, you are processing anything that you're not even aware of, but you have maybe been held in your body. And that's why when you leave a rave, you will feel lighter because you are literally shaking it off.
Yeah, amazing.
So his book, I read it and I was like, I am on the right track. The only difference between what I want to do and what he's doing, obviously he's doing it in this very academic way, I'll say. Yeah. I'm trying to do it commercially. Yeah. Because for me, I'm not a psychotherapist and I'm not interested in training as one either or doing dance therapy as a degree. I'm not interested in that. Yeah. What I'm interested in is building out an educational platform where ravers and DJs and people that are in this week in, week out, which is millions of people worldwide, understand first of all how important this is and also how healing it is and how DJs and producers can have such a profound impact and MCs on people's well-being. Because this is the other side of it that I don't think that people understand is like, you're not just up there pressing buttons and mixing. That's not what you're doing. You are taking people on this very important journey within themselves that they might not even be aware of. And you are allowing them to process stuff that they maybe have held on to for 20 years.
Yeah, you know the mad thing, and I've said this a lot recently, as I've got into my 50s, and it's still like I've grown with my audience and vice versa. Like I'm not one of those DJs who tries to be down with the kids kind of thing. It's like this is my music. This is who I am. This is who I was then and who I continue to be. And one thing that I feel which to people of my age who don't go out, this drives them insane. I played some of the best raves of the early 90s, but I believe a lot of the events I play now are better than the early 90s. And the reason being is the emotion that 50 to 60-year-olds are bringing out. They're bringing out a few tiers of emotion. One, the fact that they was teens listening to that the first time around. Two, the fact that they've grown up now and they're in their 50s, coming up to 60. So they've got a second wind of wow, that was our teenage life, and now we're at this age, and the kids have left. In some instances, they're kids, not as in teenage kids, but in their 25s, 30-year-old. They're then coming out of their family going, look, we used to listen to this track and that track, and I've never seen so much natural, genuine emotion as compared to the early 90s, the heyday, where it was a drug-induced emotion.
Sure.
Of course, people go out and drink and get on it, but there is certainly far more people than there ever was not taking stuff compared to when we was younger. For argument's sake, I've not drunk or taken drugs for nearly 10 years, and I'm having a better time as a DJ than I've ever had, because I feel the energy of people. And also something else I see most weekends is people are teary-eyed in the dance floor as they hear Alias Follow Me or Shades of Rhythm, or, you know, and people say to me, don't you get bored with playing that? How can I get bored with playing that to people of my age who are like you in your kitchen hearing these certain records that make you feel so good? People of my age group are coming out to hear that in a shared space, and there is so much real energy and love and emotion out there.
Absolutely. And the key part here is what you said about the drug taking, because with rave culture, one thing that I am so clear on with the values behind my work is I'm not trying to say that drugs and alcohol are like even inherently bad. It's like, that's not my purpose. If you want to take something or have a drink, you crack on. I'm not here to convince you otherwise. What I am going to do is I'm going to convince you that it was the music and the dance first.
100%.
That's the issue that has happened within rave culture. It's the narrative has been spun that if you go out and listen to electronic music, you're a drug taker and you get on it and XYZ.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that, like you say, are no longer doing that or actually never did, that's really important to speak to, because they're also feeling the same, if not a slightly bigger energetic release or whatever it is, because they are just connecting to the music and the dance like that. And I think that that's also really important. Like, we can't deny that, you know, rave culture has that component to it, but I speak about this a lot recently, in particular of the rise of ketamine on the dance floor. That's a problem, and it's a problem not for the reasons that people think it is. I think it's a problem because it stops making people dance. So ketamine is a dissociative drug. That's why it's used in trauma therapies, right? It allows people to process again like what's kind of going on because of the way it works with the mind. It's not a drug that makes you move.
I could never understand, like, when that come in around the late 90s, early noughties, like in the early days, like it's in the real sort of Love Dove era, the 1991 era, as a DJ, you because it was so drug induced in them times, you'd know if you'd DJ and you'd know if there was dodgy pills or it wasn't quite, that they could be a bit mongy or people could be a bit happy and all that. And at the late 90s, turn of the noughties is when ketamine started coming in, about that time, I think. And you could like really tell at events and venues, and people started saying to me like, Dan, people do horse tranquilizer. And I'm like, what?
Weird things happening in the dance, like people doing like messed up things. I was working at, this is a mad story, I was working at Camden Palace back then. And somebody decided that the toilet was in the middle of the dance floor, like literally, because they were so on K. Like, so it's just that spins the vibe for like the whole thing. It's just not, like you say, it's a tranquilizer.
It's
why?
I could never get that bit.
But this is the thing for me, is like, if you are not understanding that the purpose of why you're at a rave is to dance. You're going to see, hopefully, someone you really want to see DJ. Dance to it, like dance to them. It should be a two-way energy exchange.
Well, it's the ultimate trade-off.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. And every DJ that I have ever spoken to it's always the same question and answer to this, which is you always pick one person in the crowd, and it's like, if I can make them dance, then I can make everyone else dance, because they're the one that's kind of locked in the most.
I'll be different to the one.
Please.
No, I'm going to say that's what Randall, R.I.P.
I've always been the opposite. Like, you know, I said I was late for my gig at the weekend. Like, I got up on stage and there was like 1,000 people in this room, and I just like look at all these people in this room and they're like, right, we're gonna go right back. But I get the one person and then picking them off.
Because it's like, if you can focus in, just say for whatever reason you've got a crowd full of ketamine users and they're not moving, the energy exchange is going to be strange for you because you're going to be like, what's going on? I'm not making people dance. I can't connect. And that's the issue. Whereas obviously when it was pills, that they do make people move. So this is the thing. It's sort of like
smile on Danny's face.
It's like this is the thing. It's not to demonize certain things. You know, everyone's got their own journeys with things. You know, and I think there is a balanced way to rave. I really do. For me personally, I'm sober based upon my health situation. Like, I never want to feel hungover ever again in my life. Like, it's just not of interest to me. But also, I never had problems with addiction. A lot of my friends have had problems with addiction. They've gone down that route. And so there's different reasons as to why people choose to go sober, right? But the purpose of my work and why I put it out in the way that I do is to show people that the music and the dance is always what they're looking for. So a lot of people also from your generation go, oh, I can't go raving anymore. I can't go out anymore because I'm 50 or 60 or whatever it is. And it's like, but you should be. You should be. You absolutely should be. And it will keep you young 100%. And it will keep you in that joy that you need. Especially when life is getting tough. You know, like it's so essential for people's well-being. And I see it all the time, like, you know, when people say, oh, I stopped dancing, I can't go out because of X, Y, Z. And I'm like, do it in your house. If you've got all of these reasons that you're telling me that you can't do this anymore, no one can look after your kids or whatever it is. You do it in your house.
Do you know what I love? When sometimes I go on TikTok and it shows me people my age dancing to old tunes. You might not see. I'm lucky because I see thousands of people my age every week actually going out and doing what you're saying. But sometimes I just see like men and women, men in their like man cave, women in their like kitchen or living room dancing to the. And there's always such an endearment about seeing people dance, and that was the only, like, the one driving factor of why I only ever wanted to be a DJ from like 8, 9 is seeing people dance.
Why is it so great for you?
Why is it so great? It's that loving music. So let's take it right back to the very first house parties or family parties, and there's the records and fascinated by the music, loving the music, and just being able to put a record on, whether it's then and changing the mood of the room in a house or changing the mood of a club or a tent with thousands in, that is what makes me happy. And back to the point of, like, let's take the record Phase 2 Reaching. I discovered that when I was 12, 13, way before I'd ever taken drugs. So I never hear that record. I don't hear any music from a drug perspective, you know, like, but all of the most uplifting records and songs in my life, I don't associate with drugs. I just experienced drugs in a rave because I was there from so early on. But that I just want to see people happy from music that I love.
I love that. And this is also really important, by the way. So DJing is a form of meditation.
Right.
Because meditation is anything that brings you into the present moment, which allows your thinking mind to stop. When you're DJing, you're so locked in to what you're having to obviously do, and obviously the different rhythms that are going on. You can't think. You're just locked in. It's a flow state.
I am so in tune.
Exactly.
I am like, so I did 2 1-hour sets at the weekend and 1 2-hour sets. I tell promoters most of the time I want to play for a minimum of 2 hours. Because once it's different when you have these lineups where there's 50 million of us, but when you get these ones where it's just you in a local club or a bigger event where you're the main one for the promoter and they've put you on for longer, 2-3 hours, that's when I'm like completely free. And like, so this 2-hour set, like I'm going in on deeper tunes and taking them in different directions, then like saying certain things on the mic that just adjust the energy a little bit. And that that's when it really starts becoming tribal and like you get locked in as opposed to like a shorter set. I love shorter sets because I can be really flash and get up there and like give it full beans, but the longer sets in changing the direction and
that's the journey.
Going deeper.
And that is in my opinion, the similarity between a plant medicine ceremony and then what you've just described. And this is the thing with that tribe in Botswana is that's so they don't take anything. There are other tribes around the world that do take
fascinating. That is,
but they don't take anything. There's no psychedelic involvement whatsoever. It's just about the drums. So it has to be about the journey with the body and then how the body wants to move, and that's exactly what you've just described.
No, I feel that as well. 100% feel that. Like I can think like with radio, even for example, I'm like, I've got to do radio 2 hours. When I'm in it, I'm like, of course, this is it. This is 100% why I'm living and alive and playing the shows out as well. It's just totally locked in. I understand that that's
it's a meditation.
Meditation,
Well, what I think is important for your demographic as well, who's going to have kids, right? It's like if you can get your kids on a pair of decks and get them mixing, they're going to be like in a completely different zone when it comes to emotional regulation and processing than a child that doesn't have that outlet. And I also, I'm a big advocate for kids doing music in general of some description, but there is something that comes with drumming. Either put them on drum kit, which is very loud, or get them a pair of decks and get them mixing because they go into this zone. And there's this kid that follows me, and I follow him now because he sent me his tunes.
Right,
it's 14.
Wow,
he's so talented. I cannot even begin to tell you. He's so talented. He's called Max, and he makes house music, but it's very vocal, big room house. It sounds like it's from the 90s. And I'm like, you're 14.
Okay.
Like, who taught you this? Yeah. And there's another one, DJ Archie. Yeah. He does the drum bass stuff. I mean, these kids, their dads, obviously, or whoever it is, mums maybe as well. Yeah. But it's like they've given them the ability to go, let's see how they can explore this, right? Yeah. And it's such a love and a passion, but it also is doing so much for their well-being.
Yeah. I meet a lot of people like, say between the age of 18 and 25 whose parents have handed down their record collections and stuff like that, and that fascinates me. And also at our raves that we put on, like at my 35 years, we intentionally, we had all of us old gits playing who I've known for like since 89, 90, but we also had a lot of DJs 21, 22, 23, 25 at Nicky Blackmarket's daughter, Mikey's DJing and MCing. Yeah. And I think it's important to include everyone because we learn as well from the youngsters, and then the youngsters can learn from us, can't they, about the music?
Without a doubt. That's how, so this is another important point. We live in a society, we kind of spoke about this obviously before we start filming, where people are getting extremely lazy, right? So they're getting really, really, really lazy because they have the internet in their hands, which opens people up to an abundance of information, which some of it's true, some of it's not. But most importantly, they're not consuming in the right way anymore because it's lazy consumption. And what it's also therefore doing is discrediting the importance of oral tradition. Right. Before the internet, you had to go to a rave and hear that tune. And then if you wanted to know what that tune was, they'd have to come up to you and be like, what is that you played at this point or whatever? Like they had to do that. Yeah. Now they don't have to do that. There's a different way in which people can engage with music like never before. And there's also so much of it. This has changed the way, therefore, in which we're learning about traditions. Beyond music, of course, it includes like, cultural traditions and health and all sorts of other stuff. But when it comes to raving and it comes to finding that music that you truly love off of DJs that you like admire, that's also completely changed. And that's, I think, a problem because it is giving people this lack of maybe passion for for the dance, for the music.
Yeah.
I've got something for you. So back in the day, when there was, in the early rave scene, when there wasn't actually many of us DJing, which gets brought up a lot on my rave podcast, we would scratch out the names of the records or write our names massively over it. Or if the other resident DJs come and wanted to know it, go away, mate. It was like so secretive, you know. There wasn't actually many of us then compared to now. And we were so guarded about our track titles. Whereas now, like you say, it is so readily available. Yeah. But one thing that does concern me about the dumbing down of our minds is even when we put massively in our descriptions the name of the tune, people still ask, what's the name of this tune?
I know. Yeah.
That concerns me, that people are not paying attention when they're paying attention.
Because they're not paying attention, because 100. Their minds are so used to passively consuming. This is such a big issue.
Yeah.
Like the passive consumption has made people dumber for sure.
Yeah.
Where they just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and they're just not engaging with what they're actually looking at or listening to. And this is also why anyone that ever speaks to me about, what's your number one tip for well-being? I'm like, listen to music.
Sure. And
that sounds mad to people that listen to music, right? But what does that mean? It means take the time to just sit and listen to the music. You're not trying to do anything apart from listen to it. There was a point in time where on people's CVs, under hobbies, it was listening to music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that has gone out the window.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at people that collect vinyl, they actively sit and listen to the music.
Yeah. You know what? I get sent loads of records. I get sent hundreds and hundreds of MP3s, and I look in my inbox and I'm thinking, and then I get sent loads of records during the week. With a record in my studio, I have to sit and listen to it all, just out of because that's what I do. Yeah. And even if I get halfway through it and might not like it, I'll still listen to it because it's on this piece of plastic that someone's gone to these great lengths to do, and I feel I owe it this justice to then like a friend of mine yesterday in Poland, people still cut me dub plates, right? So he cut me a dub plate. He was over in the country a week and a half ago, but I've got a pile of records like that, and I have to have the time to show him attention. So my friend messaged me to say, have you been through the dub plate yet? And I had time, so I went and I listened to every single track, give him a running commentary. Whereas when I get sent the digital stuff, download it, flick, I don't like that.
You have to be so brutal though as well.
Why are they sending me that? I'm not going to play that jump up, screechy drum and bass tune. Why are they sending me that boring techie house tune? No, and I can tell within seconds. Whereas with a record in my own world, I pay attention.
Yeah.
And that is a lost art form.
Yeah.
Because it's so essential that people come back to understanding how to listen to music, feel it.
Yeah.
How does it make your body feel? Mm-hmm. And this is like the biggest thing that I teach people with my modality and within MIM and what we do with under the bracket of music is medicine and movement is medicine as two kind of different components of it. It's like, how does the music make your body feel?
Yeah.
And that is so basic and so simple. And yet people, they don't know how to answer that question a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's why, there is so much, there are so many amazing things that happen when you're listening to music, like on a chemical kind of physiological basis, right? And music is one of the only things that lights up various different parts of the brain all at the same time.
Okay.
And the interesting component and the part of the brain and the body in general, the bit that I'm interested in is something called the sensory motor system. And so what that is you've got your senses and then you've got your movement components as part of your whole body experience, right? And so when you feed your senses, what that does is it immediately tells your nervous system, which is the connection between the brain and the body, we're safe, because we're in the present moment. Yeah. So if you've ever had any form of therapy that is about basically understanding how you feel, they might have used, can you tell me 5 things you can see, 2 things you can touch, blah, 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 blah. They bring up the senses because the senses are our way of experiencing life, right? And so when we go into a triggered state and when we're overwhelmed or anxious or whatever it is, the one thing that's going to help us come back to our baseline is a sensory experience. What is music? It's a sensory experience. It's your hearing. And so there's the other part of it for me, though, that is more visceral than that. There's the auditory stimulus, but then at the same time, when it comes to electronic music, it's the rhythm.
Right.
And that's the bit that I find fascinating. It's the rhythmic element of this, because you can feel the rhythm and you can also feel the bass in your body. You can actually feel those 2 things. And so when I'm teaching people about how to listen to music, we're bringing in all of these components. It's not just sit there and passively be like, scroll on your phone and whatever. No, feel it. Where do you feel it? Where do you feel that bass? Where do you feel that rhythm? Do you feel that in your heart or your chest? Because on a biological level, there are studies that show that when you listen to a certain BPM, your heart rate will match it. And so that's called there's same with your brainwaves. Your brainwaves will match certain BPMs and tempos. And all of these things that happen internally, all of these ways in which your body is responding to the music is proof, and it's a show that you we need to sit and listen to it to allow it to affect us in the way that it needs to affect us. And then the motive part of this is also letting yourself move to it. So even just tapping your foot, you're moving to the music. That in turn is allowing that sensory motor loop to do its thing. It's when we're sat still. I will never personally understand people that listen to tunes and just sit there just completely still.
Yeah, never
when
still.
It comes to electronic,
never still.
I will never
Even
get it.
Even if I am sat, because I was explaining to you on the other one that my happy place was actually, there was a sofa behind a booth at a gig I was at, and I was happy to be sat down, but moving, down, but feeling it full throttle because I'm getting the monitors. Exactly.
So that's what I'm talking about, is that experience. Yeah. You're not sat still. And this is the problem, I think, in our society in general, is that we, even from school age, you've got a kid that's fidgeting. The teacher's sit still, you're fidgeting. Yeah. That child needs to move. That's why they're doing it. Yeah. It's not even nothing wrong with them. Yeah. They're not disruptive. They're not anything. They literally just need to move. It's a natural reaction. Yeah. It's a normal reaction. Yeah. The thing is that if that child was doing it with some music on, it wouldn't be seen as weird, right? Or disruptive or whatever. So that's my whole argument is we need to do this. If you, for whatever reason, have got a level of conditioning to believe that, no, you need to be sat still and you can't do X, Y, and Z, even at your desk, you're just sat directly still. The music that you're listening to should evoke a movement response. It just should. Yeah. And that is not necessarily going to come from, for example, classical, where there is a lack of percussion. But we are all in electronic music. There's an abundance of it.
I can't keep still to save my life.
Yeah, me neither. It's I talk my hands. Yeah. I'm very handsy when I talk. Yeah. And it's for a reason. It's I have to.
And it's expression.
It's an expression.
Rhythm,
it's an expression of my cadence, of my tone, and it's a natural thing. I'm not obviously consciously doing it. Yeah, yeah. And when I become really conscious of it now, I'm like, oh no, my hands are going crazy. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh God. But it's these things are such a natural reaction, and the more that you allow them to happen, the easier it is that you're going to find, especially if you are neurodivergent or you're just, even regardless of neurodivergence, if you're just in a state where you know that you're stressed, because your nervous system is living in a slightly different zone to what actually your baseline is. If you allow yourself to listen to the music, move to it, it will naturally help you to complete that cycle because of the sensory motor input. And that's really the main core element and the foundation of the work that I do, is teaching people that on the dance floor. Is why I was talking earlier obviously about ketamine, restricting the movement. Yeah. It's detrimental to the process you're meant to go through whilst listening to music on a dance floor. Yeah, yeah. And this is why rave culture needs to be protected, because it's one of the only spaces that we have that we can do this. Yeah, it really is. That. In such a in such a like mass way. Like there are sporting events, we spoke about this again off camera, there are sporting events that also evoke these emotions. Like, why do you think men love going to the football? They love banging and chanting and singing and clapping and getting the drumming going. It's very tribal. It allows them to process. Exactly. It allows them to process whatever the week has built up. The same applies to rave culture. And this is the thing, is like when we actually zoom in on these rituals, because that's what they are, they're rituals, we need them. We just need them more than ever.
Connections.
The connection is essential.
It's really, really refreshing to hear. Something, whilst we were talking, I was thinking about, you know, you went to your go-to record to dance, and then you were talking about the tunes that you heard when you were young, like 13 or whatever. And I do the same. If I want to pick up an old record that's an old like dance tune, like some Bizarre Inc. or something, and I'm wondering if there's like an inner child connection.
Definitely.
Because you're going to be listening to that without the drugs.
Definitely.
And you are hopefully in your safest era as a child, maybe not, but or you've found a safe place within that, within the music. I'm processing my own self here, but like I feel there has to be an inner child connection.
For sure, definitely. Right, it's a resonance thing.
Go back to music that, say, my dad passed away this year. I always go back to music in my room on my own, you know, and Sonia will know what record it is when it's on, and I'll just be in my room listening to that track that reminds me of my dad. You know, and it goes back to that, you say Bizarre Inc. How many times can I share Bizarre Inc. from S Paradise and Ministry of Sound and Coco and Up North and stuff, and no matter how many times I share that record, it always gets hundreds of thousands of people across my pages going, this was our favourite tune, because it takes them back to their teens.
Without a doubt.
Just takes me back to being, just younger than a teen and hearing it in my brother's room. But that's like that's a positive time, a positive era, and then going through his records and listening and finding myself within the music. Like this is so interesting.
Without a doubt. It's a huge component of it. It's why also when you see the videos, for example, of people that have got dementia or Alzheimer's and they still remember the music. They don't remember their children, they don't remember anything. Right. But they remember a song and they can still repeat the lyrics. There is something deeply within us that is just so inherently built for music. And these parts of ourselves need to be attended to. And that's the thing, is like, I've got memories. My dad had a semi-decent vinyl collection and he was like the musical one. And I just remember like dancing around to Jimmy Cliff like on a Saturday morning kind of thing. And I even told my dad, he's so funny. Like he has like very selective memory. So I wrote about this in my book, where we had a ritual. He had a Groove Armada album. It was like a compilation kind of mix album by Groove Armada. Every single time that I played football when I was younger, so I played for Tottenham ladies, and we would obviously drive wherever to go to matches. We would always play this album. Like it was our ritual. And I said to him, like after I'd written this book and he'd obviously read it, he was like, I don't remember that.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, I really
means everything.
That's me. That was like a core memory. So what do you mean? And it's like, these are the kinds of things where it's going to mean something to you. Maybe it doesn't have the same effect on someone else, but obviously my dad's got other memories of different music and whatever. It's like the resonance is so subjectively personal. And that's beautiful. But then when you also find somebody with that same resonance, you're like, oh my God, that tune means this to me. It's like that in itself is a bonding experience. And these are the things that are essential to our well-being. They're essential.
It's interesting what you were saying earlier about how important music is. Like I literally have to have music round the clock in my life. So like Monday radio, as you know, sorting out a radio show takes hours. Then you do the show, then you promote the show. We're recording this on a Tuesday. I'm doing podcasts with you all to talk about music. Wednesday back on the radio. Thursday launching other stuff about music. Friday there's always sorting music out, putting mixes up. All weekend DJing. Sunday sharing the Rave Story podcast. Like I've learned as I've got older and older and older, I have to have I have to be around music 24/7.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
That's why I found it so crazy when I stopped listening to music when I was ill and it wasn't a conscious thing at all. And then when I realised, I was like, oh my God, I'm not doing me, because it's so me. And it's built into me, like you're saying, like my days are filled with music in different ways now, but they are filled with music. And these things are a lifeline for people.
Yeah.
And they need to be, I think, understood from all the different angles, whether that's from a science angle, but also just from a cultural or artistic angle. All of it's relevant. All of it's really, really important for how we operate as humans. And some people, like yourself or like any of us here, we need it maybe more. And that is an essential core component as you live your life.
Yeah.
And there are other people that need it a bit, and there are other people that need it a little bit, but everyone needs it. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs some form of connection to either a track, an artist, or whatever it is. I really do believe that it is so inherently human to do so.
Yeah, no, that's totally interesting, because I do need it. In fact, I'm at my most miserable when I'm not doing it or in and around it, no matter how it may not be financially viable or anything like that. Like, I still need to be doing it, you know. So what I would like you to go into is the really interesting bit about the drums and repetitive beats. And I don't know if you we were speaking about it off camera, that I had recently been diagnosed with inattentive ADHD. Dan feels that he is potentially ADHD because, much like me with my friends, they were like, you are. So we want to know if really what the connection is with neurodiversity, essentially, and, you know, neurotypicals and how that all kind of comes into play.
So repetitive beats are so helpful for anchoring. Okay, so if you're neurodivergent, you will find that the things that give you an anchor are the things that you gravitate towards the most. Some of those coping mechanisms might be healthy, especially if you're undiagnosed, and some of them not so healthy. But when you understand and you are diagnosed, you go, oh, I do that because it's anchoring me. It's giving me this like basis where I feel safe and not overwhelmed about the situation I'm in. The repetitive rhythm within electronic music is one of, in my opinion, the best things that exists for this. And that's not just for neurodivergent, it's also for neurotypical, because we live in a world now that is overwhelming. 100. It's that simple. It's like, there are people, this is also why I think that there is, like, neurodivergence is such a spectrum, and I think that we all exist on that spectrum in some way, shape or form. And I think that there are different elements as to how severe somebody might present with maybe ADHD versus somebody that thinks they have ADHD, but actually they are just living in a chronic stress cycle.
State of overwhelm.
So that's why it can get a little bit muddled up for some people. But the bottom line is that the repetitive rhythms and the way in which music works, the body and the brain are going to find an anchor within that drum pattern. And what that then does is it creates safety, because you then don't have to think what's coming next. So the thing that humans need and require is habit. We love routine. We love a habit, especially if you are autistic, or you know somebody with autism, you will know that their routine is essential. So the reason it's essential is because it doesn't require a thought process. It means that it's safe. They know what's coming next. It equals safety. So when we are looking at electronic music, it's the same concept. There is a routine in electronic music production. Electronic music production, hands down, is science. Like, it just is. It's art and it is science. And so I tell this to producers that I speak to all the time. If you want your tune to bang and like everyone loves it and remembers it, make it loop. It's the loops that people love, and the reason that they love it is because they then know what's coming next. So it automatically makes them feel calm and safe on a biological level. And so that's why electronic music is such an essential component within wellbeing and should be utilized within wellbeing. Like I develop trainings basically.
Yeah.
So I've just done one for teachers. I've done one that's coming out for fitness and wellness professionals.
Yeah.
I'm doing one that is for physios, for example, and like different parts of healthcare. I do these trainings and I develop these trainings to give people the understanding of how to utilize electronic music in an environment that would normally be like, well, no, I can't use this in the classroom with kids. Are you crazy? Absolutely you can.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can is because it is going to require the kids in a classroom, as an example, it's going to require them to listen. And if it's going to require them to listen, it's going to require them to catch the rhythm of what they're listening to. And this is where you bring in the body.
Yeah.
So you get them to tap on their knees or their chest or even their hands. Finding that rhythm and the repetition of it equals regulation.
Wow.
And so that's why I think that also, I've mentioned this on a podcast before, and the reason that I find the 1994 bill that came in so fascinating was because of the use of the terminology repetitive rhythm beats. Like that in itself shows me that they do know.
Someone somewhere knows something.
100%.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way that they would have used those words if they did not believe that they understood the repetitive rhythms and repetitive beats do something to the human mind and body. First of all, we can also look at cults.
Yeah.
Because cults also use, similar kind of theory for mass hypnosis, right? That it's repetition.
Yeah.
And that repetition over time, it changes people's belief systems and patterns and all the rest of it. So there's a reason that these things are known about, right? But within rave culture, you're not going to know that. You just think, I like this tune.
Yeah.
Like this is a big tune. I love how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
But the way in which your brain and your body, and this is also, by the way, why rave culture is so important to keep the culture alive in regards to peace, love, acceptance, unity, all of that.
Yeah.
It's like if you're sending people into a hypnosis state, which you technically are, then what are we feeding them when they're in that state?
Yeah.
Peace, love, acceptance, all of it is essential.
Yeah.
And I think that all of these things, once you understand how the brain and the body kind of work together with music, in particular the drums and the rhythms, we then also can zoom out a bit and say, okay, cool, how can we utilize this for the development of humanity, for the people's health and well-being, etc., etc. We also can see this if we zoom out again in the military.
Right.
If you're marching on the spot to the drum, then that's going to put you into a certain type of zone.
Again, tribal.
It's very tribal. What happens at a rave when there is a certain tune, everyone's marching at the same time, and then it drops and then we bounce, right? It's the same thing that's happening in all these different arenas. And it's about connecting the dots between why does this make us feel like this and why does this make us respond like this, and how is our body what are the reactions going on within our bodies to allow this process to kind of continue and to happen?
I've got two things going through my head.
Okay.
I always believed from the early days that that generation, the early rave scene, like you're saying, conserving the rave scene and keeping its beliefs going, which is the peace, love and unity thing. I've said in so many interviews in documentaries, in podcasts, in magazines, I truly believe that peace, love vibe, it wasn't just for the dance floor or when we were peeled up. It is literally for life. It is it's a reason to be living. Just peace, love and getting on and loving music. The other thing that I take from what you've just said is I'm actually going to start telling people I'm a scientist as well as a DJ and a producer.
No.
That is fascinating.
Off camera, Emma actually said we were shamans. So I'm taking it.
There's a massive link between the process that DJs take people on and shamanic ceremony. There is a massive connection between those two things.
Just thinking that.
It's that, and that's why I think that one thing that to say that's really important is it's a really special thing to be able to stand on a stage or in a booth and make people move and dance. It's really special.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot going on now because of the internet and clout and like, you know, people just wanting to become famous, which has always been a thing, obviously. You know, that is what it is.
It's really interesting because I'm thinking in my head, right, you saying about clout, right? So when you're younger, or in my case, I'm talking from in my 20s, right? When DJing had become a career out of my teens, when it was just like the rave scene's new and it's only a year or two old, and here I am living for the weekend. And then all of a sudden, as I'm getting older, it's like, oh, there's like a career here. There's like the tax man's knocking at my door and the VAT man. Who are they?
Yeah.
But now, and I keep saying about being in my 50s, I think I wear being in my 50s or the start of my 50s with pride, right? Yeah. Because I have no, like, my mind is not on a career, you know, it's not a career, it's a way of life for me. That's also why I believe that I enjoy it more than ever. And I've always enjoyed it. And I think that's why I have even more of a connection with people when I'm playing, because I have no pressure on myself about a career, about money, about anything else other than I just want to share these memories and emotions.
Well, it's authentic.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Exactly.
And you're doing it for the love of the music, and you've just so happened to be really good at it and made a career out of it. You're not doing it as, I want to be seen and do this and whatever. The music comes first, right?
Every time,
And that's the important part. Not every DJ is going to take people on a shamanic journey. They're not. And that's the important aspect to realise, like, who is doing it for the love of the music, to take people on this journey with themselves and the connection part, and who is doing it for perhaps other reasons. Yeah. And those other reasons, whatever, they're fine. It is what it is. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But there's a very specific type of music person who is able to stand on those stages and take people on that journey. So yeah, not every DJ is a shaman. And I think that really, if you are a DJ and you are standing on those stages, like, what's your intention? Like, intention is really everything.
Yeah.
And start to realise and understand the power that you actually technically hold, basically, and the transformation that you allow people to go through, because it shouldn't be taken for granted. It should be, like, really looked at as a really important responsibility.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's what is happening anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree.
So with that kind of leads me into a question. If you could redesign the whole club rave experience with mental health and your ethos in mind, what would it look like?
Oh, that's a really good question.
What a question.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I would that's a really good question. First of all, phones would have to go.
Sure.
They just would.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this debate all the time.
Can I still keep mine, though, to film the crowd reaction?
We'll have them built in. We don't need to hold them. There'll be people videographing.
This is the key. Right, this is the key. There's a debate. There's always this debate, right? Yeah. And I think that it's really important to understand the different sides of this debate, because it is nuanced.
Yeah.
Yes, we want the memories. Yeah. Sure. But if we are choosing the memory over the movement, I disagree. Because the memory, when are you going to look at it again? You know, like, I think that there's a difference between filming a reaction when you're playing and you're like, I want to obviously show people, you know, my job and what I'm doing. That's a different story. If you're in the crowd and you're there to be part of this experience, you then checking and going onto your phone is going to break that sensory motor loop that I was talking about. It's not going to allow you to go into the trance aspect of what raves can do, right? Yeah. So phones would, in my opinion, be better off not existing on the dance floor. We can capture content in other
100%.
ways. And I am one person who, I'll go to a rave, I'll take a 10-second clip and then that's it, I'll put my phone away, but I'm still part of the problem. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's still doing it. Yeah. So it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one, because there is parts of it where it's like, you know, it's part of my job to promote stuff as well. And like, I get invited to raves, or I get invited to stuff, and I'm going to film a little bit and whatever. But so I've been very vocal about phones on the dance floor. And then a few people have messaged me sort of saying, well, you filmed
I've seen
that video that you did. And I'm like, yeah, fair. Literally, I have nothing to say because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. But I think that if there's that club that's opened in Manchester, Amber's, that's no phones.
Okay.
So that's the whole thing.
Fabric have a go as well with the stickers.
It's
like
not
they
enough.
try, I know.
It's not, it's not going to work. You can't, you're still giving too much agency to people.
There was I swear, Sanctuary Music Festival last year, the Sanctuary reunions, they put a sticker on everyone's phone and there was this big thing about, I know I'm right, no phones. But when everyone got in, they peeled their phone off and there's all these...
They need to go in those lockers. You've been to when you've seen a comedian or something where you go to the theatre or shows, they put them in like these secure bags.
Yeah, that's what they... I'm sure they've got something similar at Amber's in Manchester.
Okay.
It's a no phone, like you can't bring your phone in. It's not a sticker thing. Because this is the thing, is that people are so used to the habit of it's still...
I do what I want. Everyone's of that mindset.
Exactly. And it's like... It's a tricky conversation.
It's really tricky
because there's good and bad for both elements of it, right? But it's like when you just see these videos of everyone just stood still filming, everyone's filming the same.
It's so dry, isn't it?
It's the same. It's also the same thing where they've heard a song on TikTok and then they're going for that song.
Yep, 100%.
So that's also the issue is that they're kind of waiting around and hanging around, and blah blah, and then they go, now here's my moment, and I'm going to film just this moment.
Yep.
But that in itself is like, well, what's the intention of you being there? Are you there to be seen there and then post up your little clip?
Yeah.
Or are you actually there to go through this like beautiful,
just
rave catharsis? I don't know. It's a very nuanced conversation, but I would ban phones. I would. Like when we was younger, we would have
thank God there was
no, we would just have a disposable
Kodak thing.
This is really, it's like, this is always an interesting one, right? Because if you watch my full length sets on YouTube or even my like 20-30 second clips from a weekend, there really isn't many people on phones in our age group. Like literally any of my big gigs, you might see a person on their phone. And it's not like you see some videos come up from Ibiza where there's literally 1,000 teens on their phone, right? And I guarantee you, and this is then where I get really protective and like agitated myself, people who don't go out will go, look at all those people on their phone. And I'm zooming in going, there's one person on their phone. Like, and it's just the most random thing on their phone. And again, back to attention span earlier, people have taught themselves that every piece of club footage they see is everyone on their phone. But there's most certainly a separation. A guy stopped me on the train a few weeks ago and he said, the scene's all changed. It's not the same, Bill. Like everyone's always on their phones. And I look at all these things. I said, when did you last go out, mate? He said 20 odd years ago. I said, I guarantee you, like if you think back to the early 90s, you'd have Sharon and Tracy clubs and you'd have underground raves. And I said to him, if you look at my videos of like the older generation still doing underground raving, you will see hardly anyone on their phone.
Absolutely.
However, if you think that all clubbing's people on their phone, it's not. You're looking in at ultimately the Sharon and Tracy scene where, and the youngsters, that's their experience. But it's such a tricky one for me because I totally agree. You know, Davinia Taylor's been on here talking about it. You have been. It does take away that personal connection. But I think also a lot of people have got commentators who comment under all our posts, like, look at all those people on their phones. People have almost trained themselves to hate one person on their phone 100%. When actually it's like it is an issue. But I'm wondering if it's more of an issue for the youngsters because the older people don't really do it.
There's without a doubt, because I went to Forward Motion the other day.
That looks brilliant. It's the Forward
best.
Motion.
It's the best.
It keeps coming up on my timeline. One of my friends who does all of our photos and videos at our events, she also does it for Forward Motion. And Forward Motion, just go off topic, comes up down my timeline. I think that looks just like the early 90s.
Listen, that is a rave. Like, I have not been to a party like that in years. I feel like I've gone back in time and there was exactly what you've just described. It's like don't get me wrong, there are a couple people, their phone out at a moment or whatever, but the majority of people are just in the zone and they're dancing and they're moving, and it's because it's targeted at an older audience. The average age group in there is about 40 to 45.
Right, well, it's much younger than my average.
But it's still the same. Millennials were not phone people. You know, I'm a millennial. And we were in that generation where we were the technology kind of switch up. So we saw all sides of it. When I first started going raving, when I was like 16, we went to God knows where, and the end, I was going to raves at Ali Pali, we're going to Fabric, etc. And like we didn't document any of this. We just went. Like it was just it was what it was. And then obviously over time, slowly but surely, you got, you know, little camera phones coming in and take a little snapshot and whatever. And then it's obviously progressed into everyone's filming, right? There's a massive difference again between taking a quick photo and then filming everything, right? Yeah. So as a millennial, I'm 36 now, right? So I've seen this, like, you know, the various kind of sides of this stuff, but I wasn't there when there was like nothing at all. And so to go to somewhere like Forward Motion, where it just wasn't the reason that people were there. People were there to move and vibe and dance, and it felt like going out in like 2008. And even then, like that's probably a good like another 10 years previous of what you're talking about, even 20 years previous of what you're talking about. It's like even in 2008, that vibe was still very much there. It was just about the music and the dance and, you know, just chatting to anyone.
Yeah.
2008 seems like yesterday, but it really isn't. No. It really isn't. Someone messaged me this morning and said, I remember when we booked you in 1999 in Reading, and we was all saying, we've got the geezer from the old school in 1999. Which I would have been nearly 10 years in. And I would have, what would I have been? 24, and people were going, that's the geezer who's really old. I know. In the late 90s. But 2008 is a long time ago. Yeah. It'd be 20 years.
That was like...
in a few years' time.
Kind of the dawn of well, not quite the dawn of the internet. It was a bit prior to that, but that was the forums and, you know, that sort of thing. And
absolutely.
MySpace. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, that era. So I'm like late Gen X. So I've grown through the eras of, absolutely zero tech into like mass tech now, like as far as socials and stuff. So it's...
Well, another thing to go back to your question as to what I would change in clubs as well is the time. So it's not to say don't put on night raves. Definitely do. Yeah. But put on more day raves.
Yes. Yes.
100,000,000%.
We did one on Sunday. We have an event called Formula. It's specifically on Sundays. Church day. Like, I'm not religious, but like it's daytime. 2 till like 9, so you can go to bed. It is all about the music. It is all about the connection. It's not about, you know, the flashy stuff. It's about people coming together in an environment where they want to hear the music and they want to connect. And that, again, going back to those authentic reasons why we did this in the first place.
Absolutely.
So... good. That's positive.
I love daytime raves. Yeah. And again, back to people who don't go out. Oh, it weren't like that back in our day. Yeah. It really was, because in the early days you had a lot of all-dayers. A lot of the original raves were all-dayers. And for me, I want all my gigs to be all dayers, because I go to bed at 9 during the week, right? So at the weekends, to be able to get in bed by like 10, 11 o'clock after playing 2 or 3 gigs is absolute bliss. Yeah. The moment I go past 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, getting at 4, 5, 6, that is me wiped out. Yep. At my age, like, it wipes me out for a good 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Please, more and more all-day raves. Yeah. I am down with that.
Well, even for the point of, right, so out of all of the well-being kind of, you know, the studies and is it nutrition, is it this, is it that, like what makes people the sickest, right? Yeah, I know what you're going to say. Sleep is the number one. Yeah. That if your sleep is disrupted or not correct, everything else is affected. Every single thing in your life is affected.
Hear that.
So obviously the only time that this doesn't necessarily come into play as much is when a woman has had a baby, because your hormones are going to make up for certain things and whatever. But if you're doing it because you're just basically sleep deprived because you've been raving all weekend, it will have an impact, you know, moving forwards. And like that, there's an argument again in certain circumstances where, the all-nighters, it's all part of the ceremony aspect and blah, blah, blah. But I think that it's an important rite of passage is what I think, right? So you then get to a certain point in your life and you go, well, I've done that now. Days.
And based on your studies and what you do, dancing is what makes you a raver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can dance at any
time
point of the day. And don't tell me you're a better raver at 3 in the morning than you are at 3 in the afternoon at Clockwork Orange or Centrevalse or Forward Motion or Formula. Don't tell me you're a better raver just because you once in your teens in 1991 raved
stayed up all night, all weekend.
In the morning, right? And the mad thing is, I said to Zoe before this podcast, I had 3 gigs on Saturday night. I didn't get in till 4 or 5 in the morning, and people, this is me becoming an old git now. I said to you, I might have to knock the 3 gigs in a night. I hear it though, and I'm because my sleep is more important to me.
My sleep has always been so important.
Yeah.
And sorry to interject, ADHD, but with the whole no sleep anxiety, no sleep for me is a trigger for anxiety, like straight off the bat. Like I clocked that a while back. Exactly. So if you're not fully rested, you're instantly overwhelmed.
It's to do with your circadian rhythm.
Right.
So circadian rhythm is the cycle. It's a rhythm, first and foremost. It's, you know, the thing that wakes us up in the morning. It's all to do with your cortisol.
Yeah.
So if your cortisol is like imbalanced in whether you've got too much going on or too little going on, that's going to affect your sleep. It's why when people are stressed, they will have insomnia perhaps, or they are just exhausted all the time. It's very linked to your circadian rhythm. What is the one thing that disrupts your circadian rhythm? Staying up all night.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're staying up all night, and then your circadian rhythm is out of whack, and then you start to feel the effects of that in the following days. Like it's all so interlinked on a biological level, right? So the day parties, oh my god, 100%. That's why I love, you know, the programming of places like Drum Sheds, because it's just like they're doing these amazing parties and it's all in a day. Yeah. But you feel like you're in another world when you go in there because of the setup of the club. So
can we say something? Real ravers rave during the day.
Formula.
Take that. That is someone younger and someone older saying that.
Well, look at festivals.
No, exactly.
Look at festivals. Festivals operate in this way.
I think the younger generation have almost been moulded into that daytime culture anyway, because they didn't have the clubs.
Exactly.
So
because of COVID.
Yes.
So they never had the experiences, the rite of passages that I had.
Yes.
Because of COVID, and then also it wasn't just the years of being shut down, it was then the mental impact.
Yeah.
Oh no, these people aren't safe and I need to social distance, all these things, they've had a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
So there is a very different entry now anyway into club culture, because, and by club culture I mean rave culture, I don't mean club culture. So these kind of rites of passage that I had that were all very natural because the person above me did it, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was friends with 50-year-old, 60-year-old, whatever, it's you're a raver, it's all good. They're not having that.
Yeah.
They want to go and do brunch.
Yes.
And they want to go and do matcha, and they want to go and do, you know, X, Y, and Z in a bakery and like have a dance whilst drinking a coffee.
Sure.
And that's all well and good because the culture's shifting.
Yeah.
And that's what people want, is they want a healthier way to consume these experiences, right? So it's like when you're asking me again, go back to that question, how do we change those environments? Do both. Have all of it. Have the nights that cater for the ravers that still want to do that and go out all night and get off their nut and do whatever they want. Also cater for that other audience, audience that are a bit more health conscious, that are like, I really want to listen to this DJ without having to succumb. This is one thing I'm really big on, okay? So rave culture and electronic music has produced some of the best music that we've ever heard. And it's also produced some of the best DJs that we've ever had. Why do people have to then build something as a wellness thing to just make it applicable to a certain demographic or audience? If you're doing a certain type of party and you want to book somebody, say you, say we're going to book you because we know that you're going to play XYZ or whatever. Do we then build that as a wellness party? Of course we don't. It's still a rave. It just might have a different intention. Maybe that's a sober intention, or maybe that's just like a daytime intention, whatever it is. We don't have to then segregate it
or label it.
No. I hate it. I find it so jarring. So a lot of the time when I talk about my work as well, people go, oh yeah, ecstatic dance and this. I'm like, that's not the same.
Right.
And that's not what I talk about. I was like, ecstatic dance, with all due respect, it's got its own lane, it's got its own demographic. I'm not interested in it.
Right.
I am interested in raving and rave culture because that is where the music is great. And the music is phenomenal and the DJs are phenomenal. And you don't see that crossover for a reason because the music is phenomenal in rave culture because it's rave culture. And that's what needs to be protected. And we don't then need to label it and make it all kind of segregated. I can't stand it. So that's also another thing. And also there is, I think, the need to stop doing the big stages. Because it's about the dance floor. So the stage and having people on the stage, it's got its place. But I think that when it takes over, that's when it kind of becomes obsolete because you're making people it's like a concert.
Concertify was what was going to come out of my mouth.
And again, that's also fine. But if we then have only got that and we've not got the little cages and the booths anymore and people go, where's the DJ? I don't know.
I love the underground stuff. I love I had bigger gigs at the weekend and smaller gigs and I love them all as equal, right? And going back, like I see a lot of people who say, take DJs back, put DJs in a corner again. I am a DJ who used to be in the corner. I used to be up in a DJ booth at the Four Aces every week for 5 years where only the people on the stage, which would hold 80 people, could see me, but there'd be another 800 to 1,000 people all in different parts of the club, right? So that is one style of conveying your musical message where you've just got this whole place that I get so many people who say we didn't care who was on back in the day, we just love that place. But then also at the same time as that era, we would also go and play at like Tasco Warehouse and Bagley's and Astoria main stage. So you'd have your stage gigs and then you'd have your underground sort of clubs. But I do think that intimate vibe, again, maybe this is more for the younger generation, there's nothing better than feeling those intimate 100, 200, 300 people dance floors of a very unique DJ or a very unique sound, as opposed to just that. Look, I have many different heads as a DJ. I'm a flash git. You get me up on a big stage in front of thousands of people, I'll wear a three-piece pink outfit, pink hat, pink short, and I'll go out there and I want everyone to know that I've turned up. But in equal measures, like one of my gigs on Saturday in Hastings, I was on ground floor. Only the people at the front could see me. It was this really underground venue and you just put me there for 2 hours. You don't need to see me.
No.
I'm not here to be seen. I'm here to just vibe. Vibe with the feeling of this place. And that could be something that's lost for the much younger generation, that intimate feeling.
So that's the thing as well. It's like all of it's valid and relevant and like we can do it all. I think this is what's also been lost is, promoting is a hard job. It's like there's a lot of risk. And so it's like, right, where do we go with the trends and what we're doing and who we're booking and all the rest of it? And like, that's all part of it. But I think that there's also a happy medium. It's like you can do both. And there is a shift in being able to kind of look at how we are putting on events and what they look like and how they feel. Because the bottom line is that if you build something, people will come. And I'm a big advocate for, I need to have the time and the space and the support to be able to do this. It's going to be a project, I think, for maybe end of next year, if not the year after. But I'm really, really keen on giving, on building out a new kind of business model for clubs. and working with some of the bigger clubs to do it and beta testing it and seeing how it operates and how it runs. Because I think that if you're able to then say, well, it worked in Printworks or it worked in Fabric or it works in wherever, you can then obviously put that out into other clubs to show that you can still make money.
Yeah.
Because this is the biggest thing, is that operational costs and other costs are always used as the well, not excuse, that's not the right word, but the reasoning as to why they can't operate in a day.
It's that age-old business model, isn't it?
It's the business model. They have to make money on the bar for it to make sense. It's the bar is the business.
Yeah.
It's actually nothing to do with the music.
Yeah.
And this is like the kind of key component here. It's like, okay, cool. Well, if you've got a business model that's based around music, but actually the money is made on the bar, where do we make the money? Where does it come from?
Yeah.
And this is something I'm really, really big on trying to solve as a personal thing, really. Because I know for me, like when I go out, right, there's like, I drink water, basically, because I don't like fizzy drinks that much. But and then if I do feel my sugar dipping, I'll try and sneak in some sort of chocolate bar. Okay. Sometimes I take it away. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got a medical condition, and then I manage to sneak a chocolate bar in. But that's the thing really that keeps people going is the energy. You need the sugar.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So I will really try not to drink the Red Bulls and the caffeinated stuff and whatever if I don't have to. But again, it depends if I'm going out day or night. Yeah. So I think that also looking at what are we selling, you know, drinks wise, what are the components here? There's different ways in which we can shift business models within clubs so that they can become more community hubs.
Yes.
And there are, don't get me wrong, there are clubs that are doing this.
Yeah.
Fabric is one of those. Fabric is doing loads of stuff. And I think that this model can be used in different ways and different formats so that we can start to have clubs operate from a day to night basis, and that in turn, in my opinion, will also help with policy and licensing, which is always the biggest issue within our culture, is that clubs are under threat based upon licensing issues. If you can come in and say, okay, cool, but we're also doing this, and these are proven to do X, Y, Z for people's well-being.
Yes,
this is the proof. This is the data that we have. Then suddenly you've got a much more difficult conversation with the government, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they can't just come in and go, well, you've breached XYZ in your license. It's like, but we've not breached XYZ and we've also done this.
Yeah.
And you know, this is a very complex issue. It's a very complex topic, but I think that there is like club spaces and the way in which clubs are going out of business left, right and centre. There is this need because of the shift in the times to look at, all right, what's the next stage then? So that we can continue to protect clubs and rave culture, but also bringing in the new wants and needs of these demographics.
There's so much that can be done in these spaces. 100%. And I do find it infuriating when I do look at venues that aren't doing that and they've still got the mindset of that. There are others that are incorporating that, those new elements. And there is so much, we could go off on a tangent, like what you could actually do with those spaces to keep them in business, because that's fundamentally what we want to do, so we 100%. Can keep our rave culture 100%. Alive.
I mean, Ministry of Sound is a really good example as well. They've just started doing the fitness stuff.
Right.
So that's really cool because each room has a different like fitness exercise in there. So one of the rooms was like spin bikes.
Right. I DJ'd at a spin bike thing at festival one year. That was a buzz.
Yeah. See, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like, so the training that I've just developed for fitness and wellness professionals is specifically looking at the link between fitness, wellness and music.
Yeah.
Because none of these people that are trained in fitness and wellness have any music training most of the time at all. They don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
But you're playing music without a doubt in your sessions to make it work.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part for me, is that how do we get more of you to do these sessions? But if Ministry of Sound are hosting it, then of course, it's a no-brainer. Of course I'll DJ whilst people do a spin thing. It's like, that's what I want to see happen, is that we start to merge these different spaces that have, they just cater for this like complete kind of spectrum of punter, basically.
It was almost like going back to a completely entire community hub where all these different activities that, yes, they're going to be music focused, but a complete range of different activities.
Basically. And music is
a community centre, essentially.
Basically.
But
But music is the conductor for everything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well, is that obviously they're closing down youth centres, they're closing down all they're closing down everything. There's no funding, right? So if the clubs can be these new spaces for community across the board, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? Like, that's where also there will be funding available, because you're opening the doors up
community, and then that feeds into mental health.
Exactly.
And it's all holistic thing.
This is one big kind of operation where everything's under one roof, basically.
So before we close, and that kind of leads into what I'm going to ask, if you can't get to a club or to one of these spaces, and for your own mental health and well-being, how could you implement what you do, your MIM at home? Like, how does one bring that into their life as a form of self-care?
So, as I said earlier, you have to learn how to feel the music and let it move you, right? I mean, the easiest thing is just like dance in the kitchen, dance in your bedroom, dance in the bathroom, dance in your living room, just dance to the music and enjoy it. Like you would at a rave. But also, there are certain exercises that we teach people within MIM, and it's really simple. Like I mentioned earlier with the kids, it's like just tap on your chest to the rhythm. And as you're tapping on your chest to the rhythm, then let your foot go. And as what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a sensation, obviously, on your physical body through your touch whilst the auditory stimulus is going in. And then this leads into what we call rhythmic entrainment. It's where you're attaching yourself to the external rhythm. That in turn is going to allow you to just come into a complete state of calm. That is the easiest thing to do when it comes to music, electronic music in particular. All you're doing is you're tapping your chest and you're tapping your foot. And you can do it on the actual floor. You know, tap your feet on the actual floor. Like sitting down, standing up, doesn't matter. That's how you do it. And you do it, the more you do it, the more you'll start to realize, like, oh, that was actually really easy to get me out of that anxiety, to get me out of that feeling of overwhelm, to get me out of that like lack of movement even. All you're doing is just creating the internal experience that you need to show yourself that you're safe. So you've got the music to do it, you've got your own body to do it, and then you've got your hands and the touch to do it as well. Okay. Do you think that's something? Do you think that's something you're going to implement into your routine? It's so good, and I'm sure we could go on for hours, and I'm sure we'll have you back. It's so good.
We could go on for hours.
We could.
I've just been glued
to
what you've been saying.
Good.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your incredible brain with us.
Thank you.
I'm going to go and listen to Phase 2 Reaching about 50 million times.
You know, and tap your chest and your feet. Definitely.
That's the
brilliant. Amazing stuff. Emma Marshall, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We've been off on one.